welcome back to Technically F1. Now, in today's video, we are going to be doing a tier list of all the helmets. Now, I've wanted to do this for quite a while, and it is a bit late on my end, but I'm finally doing another tier list, and I do know it has been a while, but let's get right into this tier list. Now, there's a lot of helmets, and there are multiple from the same driver. Now, you may be wondering, why is that? Well, quite simply, some drivers have multiple helmets in 2020. They relaxed the rule, and now drivers can have more than one helmet in 2020. Let's start off with an interesting one. Let's start off with one that we're immediately going to put in D tier. It's just a horrible helmet. It's Lance Stroll's Pink Panther helmet. But bye-bye Lance Stroll helmet. You're going there. You are a D tier helmet. Maybe worse. If there was an F tier on this list, it would be an F. Do you understand, Lance Stroll? Like, it's that bad. Alright. Now let's go for a bit of a better helmet. Something that I would say is probably like B tier, but C tier. I mean, I wish it was like a middle tier. It's Sergio Perez's helmet. It's pink, and I have nothing against pink, but the designs in the green and blue don't really go as well as you'd think. Along with the white, I think it's got to be C tier helmet. But an S tier time. Let's go for an S tier helmet. It's George Russell's Mercedes helmet from the Sakir Grand Prix. I really like that helmet. And although it didn't propel George to a race win, it was still a really cool helmet. Now, let's go for another mid-tier helmet. I'd say it's Lewis Hamilton's normal season helmet. Now, I have two pictures of that. Just firmly put it in A tier. It is a good helmet. Is it the best helmet of the season? Absolutely not. Is it... It's a good helmet. We're gonna leave it there. That's really all I can say about Lewis Hamilton's helmet without either angering everybody or, making the Lewis Hamilton fans happy. And I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fanboy, so personally, I'm not really all that interested in doing that. A quick thing to mention, though, he did have some variations on his helmet over the year. So, you see here's his normal one, which was the purple with the silver, but he also did purple with gold in one of the races, and purple with black in another of the races. So it did have variations through the season, you just had to notice them. But let's do another more obvious variation of his helmet, which was his early season helmet for the Australian Grand Prix. Now, I think that helmet is okay. It is almost an A tier, but personally I think it's a B tier. I think the black is a little bit more menacing, and, it's just... The white with the purple, it's just so similar to his normal helmet colors that I think it doesn't stand out enough. And although, yeah, sure, it's metal flake and has the silver, it's not as good as people were saying early in the season. Oh, this is such a good helmet. It just isn't really, is it? But let's go on to a different helmet. A helmet that is firmly planted very low in this list. And that is Kevin Magnussen's helmet. D tier, immediately. The giant K on the side of it is backwards first, Kevin. That's the first problem. Second of all, you've got a Haas logo in the middle of it. It's literally a 5-year-old on Photoshop trying to design a helmet. And I've designed helmets on Photoshop. My helmets on Photoshop look better than yours, Kevin. I mean, it's not that hard, really, to design a helmet on Photoshop. Like, get better at it, Kevin. It's not that hard. Moving on, let's go to a helmet, sort of middle tier. It's tough, but I'd say Antonio Giovinazzi's Italian Grand Prix helmet, solid B or C. Personally, I'm going to stick it in B. I like the colors of it. I think it's really creative. I'm not quite sure why there's a lot of fruit in it, like Antonio. Why the fruit? But it's still pretty cool, as helmets go, and that's why it can be in B tier, but it has no right to be anywhere above that. I mean, it's creative, but if this was based off of creativity, Lando would have every single one of his helmets in S tier, and some of those are just not that great. Let's take a look at one of Lando's helmets. We're gonna use this one first, his British Grand Prix helmet, where he let a fan design it. So, where do you think it went? It went to a 6-year-old, and the 6-year-old wrote Lando Nori, the room for the S, and he had to write the S on himself. Mind you, this looks like it was in crayon. Like, right? He ships a helmet out to a 6-year-old. What do you expect? Anything less than crayon? My god, Lando. I mean, it was such a big brain move, wasn't it? Sending a helmet to a 6-year-old and asking her to design it. I mean, it's a cool idea, but it just didn't turn out well. Also, if I zoom in here, why does the F1 car have a smile? Explain that to me, Lando. It's somewhere in the edit. You're telling me somebody didn't see, ooh, wait a minute, I don't like the way that looks. Why does the F1 car smile? Boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. Let's go to another interesting one of Lando's helmets. A helmet that I think is quite good. I'm putting it in A tier. It is his Mind helmet that he did for the German Grand Prix. Not a very successful helmet. It retired him from the race, but it did look quite cool with all those paint splatters and the giant Mind writing on it. Nice initiative. Cool thing that Lando did with the charity. But anyways, it's time for another helmet. A helmet that I think is firmly underrated. And that is, take a guess, everybody. Okay, you've guessed. It's Esteban Ocon's helmet. Well, a lot of people are saying it's too complicated, it's too this, it's too that. There's been a lot of complaints about his helmet from people all across the F1 community. Then again, all across the F1 community, that's a bit of a stretch. Let's be honest, there's about 5% of the F1 community that notices helmets. But his helmet is quite interesting. Some of the silver designs on top of it mimic Michael Schumacher's helmets. I'm a big fan of that. I just think the orange is quite nice. The yellow, although some people say that's not great, it's actually not a yellow. It's more of an orange, an orangey red and then an orangey yellow. But there's no real yellow on the helmet, which is great, I guess. But let's continue. Let's go for Max Verstappen's helmet. Some would think, oh, this is an S tier helmet. It just isn't. The Red Bull on the side of it is too big, and the logo, there's just too many logos on there. It's a little bit too busy for me. I think it's a B tier helmet, but I do think that it's not a bad helmet. If the Red Bull logos were smaller and the design aspects were larger, it could be an A tier helmet. But other than, then again, there are so many helmets that you can make little improvements to, right? And they'd be better. But guess what? You didn't, and that's how it turned out. Moving on, let's see who we've got next. We've got Roman Grosjean's helmet. This found a wall partway through the season. No, I'm not gonna make a joke about Roman Grosjean. I'm not gonna make a Grosjean joke. But, yeah, that is Roman Grosjean's helmet. I put it in C tier. I think it's okay. I think the orange on the helmet is way too overused. Previously, it was a nice little thing on his helmets. He'd have a little bit of that reflective orange that turned into yellow portions of it. But he's used too much of it this time around, I think. And the white is not consistent over the course of the entire helmet. You have a pure white up top, and then you have a white fading into blue and black on the bottom. I think if he had that fade white on top, it could have moved him up to B, but it just didn't work out. And also, he's sponsored by Praga. And for those who know what that is a small European car company that makes these track cars. Now, why Roman Grosjean is sponsored by Praga, I'm not quite sure. Their cars are brilliant to driving games like Assetto Corsa and that sort of thing. They're not fast on the straightaways, but they're brilliant through the corners, and their engine sounds are unbelievable. So, it's one of those little sponsors that you'd see maybe on the overalls or on the sponsor portfolio, but not on the helmet. On the helmet, you put big sponsors, and that's what you see a lot of these drivers doing. When George Russell had to switch seats and go to Mercedes and the Secure Grand Prix, he put some of their big sponsors on the helmet. Monster Energy, TIBC, Mercedes, that sort of thing, Bose. Big, not title sponsors, but big sponsors from Mercedes. He didn't just put any little old sponsor from Mercedes, he chose the big ones. But, let's go back and get another helmet, and that will be... Take a guess, everybody. Yeah, I've got your guess. Great. It's an S-tier helmet, and it is Lewis Hamilton's. Let's just start off with the color. The color is great on it, and it is, in general, it's just a great version of his Australian Grand Prix helmet that never raced. It's a nice reddy, pinky orange, and although I criticize the pink helmets from the Racing Points, I think it's just a better use of the color. It's metallic, there's a lot of silver on it. Nice helmet. Now, it's time for some more helmets. Daniel Ricciardo's Tuscan Grand Prix helmet. Meh. See, it's normally a great helmet, but why'd he put brown on it? I don't get it. Daniel Kvyat's AlphaTauri Russian Grand Prix helmet, B tier, solid B, very good. Lando Norris's normal helmet, brilliant, A tier. George Russell's British Grand Prix helmet. It's a paint splatter effect, but it doesn't work, hence why I'm putting it in C tier. Sebastian Vettel's helmet from the German Grand Prix, so straight up to yes. Now, it has a Michael Schumacher sort of design on it. What that means is that although it's a Vettel helmet on the lower layer, there is a little print on top of it, which is Michael Schumacher's helmet. It's very hard to see, but apparently it's true. He showed it to Mick Schumacher at the German Grand Prix. Mick Schumacher liked it. Brilliant. If Mick Schumacher likes it, I like it. Moving on, you have Alex Albon's helmet. Deep. It's very unimaginative. It is literally just the Red Bull colors, and although it makes the Red Bull colors look good, he hasn't been given the creative license that Max Verstappen has, or I don't know what, but what's happened here is he has made a helmet that just isn't great. So, sorry Albon, you're there. Moving on, Carlos Sainz, your helmet shall be going in B tier. I liked his 2019 helmet with more black elements. That was an A tier helmet for me, but his 2020 helmet is just not for me. Moving on, we have Sebastian Vettel's Tuscan Grand Prix helmet, another S. Vettel is the best helmet designer in F1 at the moment. Although he doesn't actually design the helmets fully himself, he does a good chunk of the work, and works with a good painting company. It always turns out well for him. Kimi Räikkönen's helmet from the entire season, brilliant, fully underrated helmet, that helmet, and it's not as well known as it should be, but it's a great helmet, Kimi Räikkönen's helmet, from the entire season. I like the little logo on the back of it, and although it looks like little sharp edges, it's actually his logo, Iceman. Moving on, you have Sebastian Vettel's Turkish Grand Prix helmet. I'd say that's a B tier helmet. It's great. It has a nice message on it, which is the F1 re-races one. It has a nice bunch of faces on it, but it's very hard to see them, and you have to be very close up to it. It's not as good as it could be. Let's be honest here. Now, we've got Charles Leclerc's helmet from the Tuscan Grand Prix. I'm going to put that as well in B tier. It is a helmet that, although it had lots of potential, he just sort of copied and pasted every single Ferrari F1 car to win a championship, put it on a white helmet, and put some red on there. As a Ferrari driver, you have a lot of potential with your helmets, even though they have to be red. Like, you can still make all sorts of, cool-looking helmet designs. Or, when I say they have to be red, they have to have red elements on them, because you're a Ferrari driver. Moving on, we have Nicholas Latifi's helmet. Strong C. It's giving me some serious C vibes. Pierre Gasly's tribute helmet to Ayrton Senna from the Imola Grand Prix. B tier, nice initiative. The AlphaTauri logo is still way too big. Lando Norris's pizza helmet. C. It's just a C tier helmet, really, isn't it? We've got another A tier helmet, which is Sebastian Vettel's silver helmet. That's just a very pretty helmet, it really, isn't it? I believe that was from the Italian Grand Prix. I like that a lot. Now it's time for some heavy-hitting helmets. We've got your Daniel Ricciardo helmet from Secure, golden helmet. Yeah, it's brilliant. Daniel Ricciardo's normal helmet, A tier. And Lando Norris's black helmet. Oh my god, that was a brilliant helmet. So that gets to go in A tier. And finally, George Russell's helmet for 2020, deciding which column has the most helmets in it, A or B tier. It's B tier. I mean, the helmet's good, but, let's be honest here. We see what this guy can do. He designed his Secure Grand Prix helmet. He's designed all these Mercedes helmets. I think one of his helmets from last year, the Singapore Grand Prix helmet, was brilliant. But in the end, it's this helmet. It's this helmet that he's used for the entire season, and the fact that he puts his name on the side of it, I think Williams has, they've got a lot of sponsors that they can work with, and yet he chooses to put his name on it. I mean, it's fine. Kimi puts his personal logo on it, and I prefer that. Lando puts his logo on it. Lewis Hamilton puts his logo on it. I think for George, putting his name on it, it's a bit overkill. But anyways, that was the F1 helmet tier list. If you did enjoy, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I think 90% of people who watched all of our videos are not subscribed, so that's pretty insane. If we can get that margin down to like 85, that'd be nice. But thank you for watching. Goodbye.